Hello, everyone. Apart from a solar eclipse, we have a retrograde coming up on June 22nd, which is our favorite planet, Neptune. Now, planets in the retrograde movement are the inverse of the direct moving planets. The retrograde period pertains to the time that a planet seems to be going back. The impact of a retrograde planet energies are directed inward instead of outward. So it affects you more psychologically. So when a planet is retrograde, its force isn't pushing out. That means the energies of the planets are not pushing out, but they're opening up inside your mind or your heart as it does when a planet is direct. When a planet is direct, our energies are reflected outside. When the planets are going retrograde, the energies are more to do with your inner psyche. Now, the house that it retrogrades in and the things that are ruled by the planet are decelerated when it is in the retrograde motion. So, the person is therefore more introspective regarding things which are affecting him and of that particular house in which that planet is retrograding. For example, Neptune, which is going retrograde this June 22nd, it is in the second decade of Pisces and will station direct on November 28th. That means the retrograde is there till November 28, 2020. Now you have to see in your natal chart which house does it represent. Pisces, which house it is representing in your natal chart. Or you could ask an astrologer to inform you that, okay, when Neptune is retrograding in Pisces, which house does it form in your personalized chart? And that is the house where you need, or that is the sector of your life where you need to be more introspective. But as of now, when I'm talking about this Neptune going retrograde on June 22nd, 2020, in the second decade of Pisces, to the normal chart wheel, it is the 12th house. Now, Pisces is the 12th house that normally deals with matters of the mind versus your emotions. It's all about battles of the heart and mind. Now, the first house is always how you project yourself outside. The 12th house is how you want to be known as. And that is also known as your personal house, how you want to be or be known as to the outer world. Now, this is a house that deals with your secret fears, anxieties, and our self undoing. Any person who's not aware that we all have an aspect of self-doubt to our personalities, and to make matters worse, who dwells too much on his or her own self-doubt, acts in a very weakened, self-defeating manner, that creates suspicions or enemies along the journey of life. So the 12th house has come to be associated with all the things that tend to negate our ego. It rules the introspection, the inner study, rather than the stage, and emphasizes the need for privacy, introspection, being serene in your own environments, and then working on your own self. Now, Pisces and the planet Neptune are very closely associated with the message of ego denial, selfless love, sacrifice, and faith in the unseen, or probably like the way we say, house of spiritualism. Now, sometimes this inspiring ego denial for a higher cause becomes perverted by fear into self destructive, escapist tendencies like suicide, drug and alcohol addiction, and a very defeatist attitude in life. Now, the true home of the soul is not the material world. Science has yet to pinpoint how and where the mind, emotions, and body actually interconnect. Now, the soul has its origin beyond the material world, and it is this concept that is represented by the planet Neptune. Neptune represents the reality that is beyond our senses. This other world is beyond time and space. It is the world of intuition. mental telepathy, and extrasensory perceptions of all kinds. Neptune was the god of the oceans. When you put your foot in the sea, you're connected to all the oceans in the world as well as to all the continents. Give it a thought. Now, when you are attuned to the subtle vibrations of the work represented by Neptune, you are connected to all there is, all there was, and all there will be. So it's like a connection of the past into your present. How you behave today is what is your future. So it is all there is, all there was, and all there will be. Or I would say, learn from your past, stay in the present, and carve your future. Now, wherever the Pisces is sitting in your personalized natal chart and the house that Neptune is, tells the area that is most important for you during this retrograde. Not many people know what thoughts you have in your mind. They can't easily deduct or deduce what you are thinking. You may be disposed to assessing, meditating on, reflecting, introspecting on your gut reactions and impressions. Now, during this retrograde, you may blame yourself when things go wrong, even if it is not your fault. There is some kind of an emotional conflict of what is right and what is wrong because you're walking around with guilty feelings inside or too much of baggage in life. You need to shed that baggage. Though you may put an air of invincibility, but deep down, you may be very hypersensitive. You may daydream and live in your imagination because you feel suppressed by the real world. You need to check the house that Neptune lives in your chart to see which sector of your life it is affecting. Where is the Pisces? But Neptune definitely is going to retrograde in the zodiac house Pisces. So if Neptune retrograde is impaired, the chances are you may daydream too much and we may be living in the clouds all the time. So you may be actually delusional also. Now, what does the Neptune's retrograde release? It actually releases the illusions from the past, the ideas or the thoughts that probably we've developed in the past. It gives a reality check and probably releases the illusions from your past. So Neptune in Pisces by transit releases the potential to disintegrate the structures that have been defining your identity. Now you need to disintegrate the old patterns, the boundaries and perceptions. They actually would seem dissolving underneath these Neptune waves, and you may be feeling as if we are opening up to receiving messages from the outside, our known reality, while simultaneously feeling disillusioned with the way things have been. See, there is new opening up, but we are also disappointed and disillusioned by what has been happening in the past. Now, during this retrograde phase, we experience as if the familiar ground is slipping away from under our feet. So, obviously, the fearfulness is there, the anxiety is there, and our ability to effectively reorient can be impacted by exhaustion and confusion as well as feeling insecure. The self doubt obviously creeps in as we question our own potential. Nevertheless, hold on. It's not all bad news, it's good news too. Those are the things we are feeling. And my firm belief is that Neptune retrograde in Pisces actually gives us a second opportunity to reorient or readjust ourselves or probably indulge in things that we are passionate about. And whenever we follow our passion, happiness automatically comes in. The fear and anxiety automatically goes out. So a little patience can help us find ways of opening to realizations that we are capable of managing our daily responsibilities. So you will discover the new resilience in yourself. You will discover that all is not lost. There are different ways and means. So you basically become a strong survivor. Neptune retrograde facilitates release from the illusions of the past while engaging with rising inspiration that brings life to our imagination, visions, and creative abilities. Now, what is the actual meaning of Neptune retrograde in Pisces? Well, when Neptune stations retrograde, it is in close proximity, making a harmonizing aspect with Jupiter and Pluto that are in Capricorn. Thus, during the Neptune retrograde, we can manifest our visions to reality and build structures to support and express that inspiration. If we are dealing with difficult and disillusioning events, the aspects formed between Neptune retrograde and Jupiter with Pluto will support regenerating visions. That means you have to regenerate and probably take different paths, and you should regenerate your visions because they are the future and they are going to give impetus for new growth and restoring whatever has been marred or ravaged. September will be an especially eventful month of the Neptune retrograde, as Neptune will reach its midpoint of forming an opposition with the Sun on September 11th, 2020. There will also be a full moon in Pisces on September 1st, which is just about 10 degrees away from Neptune, in very close proximity, followed by a new moon in Virgo on September 17th. That will be just about 6 degrees away from forming an opposition with Neptune. Now, you must take advantage of these aspects. Take out time to reflect upon Neptune's influence that helps you actively draw from your inner inspiration towards externalizing and manifesting it in your work and your creativity. Trust yourself, trust your visions, trust that you have the capability of being inspired from within rather than from the external factors. And if none of this is happening to you, then question yourself. Are you escaping reality? Are you not able to accept what the transition demands? Or are you just staying in your daydreams and you're living in your dream? So rather than staying in your dreams, start manifesting it and start living your own dream. So when you dream, when you think of a plan, when you think of that, okay, this is how I can, change the circumstances. This is how I can actually, because we are all 100% capable of dreaming realistically and putting them to work. So question yourself, are you dreaming realistically? Do you have visions? And do you feel, because everybody has to be a survivor during this time. We have no choice. We've accepted the fact that there is a COVID situation which is barring us from doing certain things, and the past has to be left behind. So once the past is left behind, you will see, excuse me, in today's world, if you see that the past has to be left behind, the present has to be accepted, and your future will have a new meaning in your life. So utilize this Neptune's retrograde in a much, much better way, in a much, much positive way, because Neptune retrograde in Pisces is giving you a time for introspection and it is also giving you time to regenerate your thoughts and to put them into reality. The effects of the Neptune retrograde are more intense for the water elements like Pisces, Scorpio, and Cancerian, where it will dissolve the boundaries and open your awareness to outwardly perceptions. It's very challenging for the earth energies like Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn because Neptune blurs and wraps the measuring that earth energies usually rely upon for sorting and analyzing information. Though it is most beneficial for Cancer and Scorpio because it forms a flowing trine aspect that injects large doses of inspiration and imagination into creative exploration. For the air energies, it's brilliant because air energies usually live in their mind, and Neptune is having a direct impact on your mind. So trust your creativity, trust that you can push your way through, and trust and have the self belief that whatever you're thinking can be manifested. So utilize this retrograde of Neptune into making the blueprints that can be executed once the Neptune starts going direct. Now, I am going to give you very short pointers of how this Neptune retrograde can, in Pisces in 2020, can affect, or how the zodiac signs can actually benefit from it. For the Aries, the Neptune retrograde will dissolve the self concepts you use to define how you're seen in the world. You can actually help yourself, or you can help the process by keeping a dream journal or other practices that will open up and that will also revive your unconsciousness. So let your imagination flow. Let your creativity be a new source or a new vision for you to work towards without worrying about the achievement. Don't think about the goals. Just see what you are capable of doing and manifest it. Once you commit to manifesting your creative inspiration, trust me, you'll figure out how to develop the structural support and bring it to full fruition. Now, for the Taurians, you can use Neptune retrograde for redreaming or regenerating your role of how useful can you be within your community. And if you felt isolated from relationships with people who actually share your passions and dreams, reach out, and reach out through any which way, either through the internet or online or phone calls, and get the like-minded interests together. If you're inspired to pursue a new creative or spiritual practice, look out for people who can actually guide you. And in case if you're already involved, then consider becoming a more active participant in developing a collective vision. So rather than being a listener now, be a giver. For the Geminis, it's very important for you that during the Neptune retrograde, do not sell yourself short or limit your vision of what you can achieve. Now is the time to dream big, imagine, write down what the creations of your mind and what will make you the most happiest and most fulfilled in your career. Allow any disillusionment to reorient you towards a more authentic path rather than giving up on your dreams. Be prepared to fall, I would say, but succeed you must. Be open to receiving help from others while also actively seeking collaborators who share your vision and can invest resources to support you. For Cancer, the waves of Neptune retrograde are definitely, they're going to dissolve the boundaries that you've constructed around the philosophy or spirituality from which you derive meaning. You may be drawn towards learning from a very radical, different culture or traditional lineage that you have had in the past. So you may become more contemporary. You may also become disillusioned by a particular set of philosophical or the spiritual system that was once important to you. You are now opening up to new viewpoints through your relationships with people, probably from a different culture. So take time out to explore your imagination, and your imaginations can actually lead to significant inspiration and guidance for you. For Leo, well, the Neptune retrograde is pulling your awareness into dark and hidden recess of your own inner being, of your own psyche. It will dissolve the blocks that have been in the way of receiving insight from your unconsciousness. Allow the waves of Neptune retrograde to wash over your old wounds, your sorrows, your disappointments, or your disillusionment, and just let it go. You need to begin a regenerative process that will ultimately lead you to increased vitality and vigor. This can be promising and very powerful time to connect with therapists and healers who have practices aligned with the healing that you so require. So spiritualism, holistic healing will do you a world of good. For Virgo, well, Neptune retrograde draws your focus into exploring your relational dynamics so that you can ultimately meet some of your intimate and emotional needs. You may need to strip away illusions and ideals that have clouded your judgment. If you experience disillusionment within relationships, personally or professionally, so you need to reorient towards cultivating the kind of relationships you are comfortable with. So you need to do off with the old, shut the old chapters, probably begin something new. This is a very powerful period for getting in touch with your own inner desires, your passions, and your own creativity, and discovering the greater pleasure by being yourself in the relationships that you so desire. For Libra, the Neptune retrograde will draw your attention towards misalignment between your work routines and the ideals and larger goals that you hope to manifest. You may just realize that while you've been working very hard, you haven't been as efficient or productive as you would wish to be. So maybe you've been wasting time through distractions or escapist pursuits. So be introspective. This is a very powerful time for you to build a very secure foundation from where you could launch your work and in a more productive way, or probably launch your own self in the world as you wish to be. See how you can integrate your imagination into the daily task of the process. You especially need to remember the first house of your chart always actually gives out how you expect the world to see or how you see the world, but the 12th house always speaks about how you want to be seen in the world, how you want to be known as. So you need to disintegrate your old self and probably integrate your imagination into the daily tasks of the process. Scorpio, let your imagination run wild during this retrograde. You need to integrate as much creativity as you can collect as possible while you are committing yourself to fulfilling your calling on this earth or your destiny. Now, as you discover your new ways of expressing yourself and improving your ability to communicate with others, you will feel the dissolution of anything that has been blocking or restricting your creative instincts. You will wake up to new ideas. You will wake up to you being aware of your own potentials and talents. Now, this is definitely the time or the powerful time for sharing your own gifts within your local community or engaging more actively with the interests that you're passionate about. Sagittarius, let the waves of Neptune retrograde wash over your inner emotions. Even if there is a dislodging about your feelings from places that have become hardened or struck, now is the time to wake up to the new. Now is the time to let go of the past. Get into your subconscious streams, swim into your subconscious streams, and connect with your emotional needs or desires. Connect with your emotional self. You will ultimately regenerate how you express and assert yourself through your own hard work into the world. And people will recognize you. They will recognize this new self. So, this is also the period to uproot and heal issues with your family or friends that you want to. Although that process does include working through your disappointments, your disillusioning experiences of the past, but let them go off. If you're interested, so extending those olive branches will do you a lot of good. Capricorn. Now, for the Capricornians, this Neptune retrograde can be a very potent period to review how you've been communicating with others and also to allow yourself to express yourself in more imaginative, creative way, more confidently. This is the time where you can rebuild your confidence and be the person that you always wanted to be. There is no harm if you seek feedback from your friends and co-workers to make sure that they're receiving the impressions that you intended to communicate. Now, this can be a great time for you to change your style of personal presentation so that you'll become more authentic in your own self, and that is what is going to reflect in the outer world. So be yourself. This is the time for you to change yourself and be the person you want, or be the person that you want others to know you as. Aquarius, do your best. Neptune retrogrades is the best time for you to determine if you've been responsibly managing your finances. Neptune in transit can blur your ability to make clear financial decisions, but as long as your plans are realistic, you can effectively invest in making your dreams become a reality. In case if you have truly understood the meaning of financial implications, but you're not proficient in it, seeking help is the best way forward. Don't fear. You need to trust people who are financial experts, and you need to accept that you do have dreams, but maybe that expertise is not there with you. Use your imagination to find new sources of income that can draw on your creative resources. Let any limiting beliefs about money and abundance dissolve in the waves of the Neptune retrograde. At times, we think that we can handle, but success lies in accepting the fact that we cannot handle this, and seeking a professional help is the best option. Pisces. As the waves of Neptune retrograde integrate your old identity, and you need to take this opportunity to dramatically change your personal style and the way that you've been presenting yourself to others. You need to completely transform mentally and physically. Though you may be experiencing feelings of confusion and exhaustion, but your imagination or your creativity is very rich, and it is capable of bringing new sources of inspiration into your life. It is going to be very helpful to have a very artistic, creative, or spiritual practice through which you can transmit and express whatever relations you have been, or whatever revelations you have been receiving from Neptune in regards to your relations. And if you want your relations to change personally or professionally, now is the time to accept the truth and to regenerate yourself and pave the way that you wish to walk on. Thank you and stay blessed.